Hey everybody, welcome back to the Caves Cast podcast. I am Jeremy,
And I'm Ryan.
and today we are going to be talking about the Immortal Thor number 9.
Yes, sir.
So, for since issue 1, they've been setting up this like confrontation with Dario Agger, who for those that either aren't caught up or don't know, or watching for the very first time for whatever reason and you're not watching from the beginning of this show. Um since the first issue, Dario Agger has purchased Thor's in like in continuity comic book series. So for like I don't even know when this happened, to be honest with you. It might have just been something that happened like off panel, or just it was just like something that Ewing had set up in the background for this. But regardless, Roxxon has creative control of all of Thor's like in-universe exploits, his adventures, all of the stuff that he does, because he's allowed an organization in the past to like just put his adventures in comic book form.
Right.
So, and it this is very meta, like
Yeah.
in terms of like how the storytelling in this, because like right from the get-go it just says even just the first that quote that he always puts in the beginning of the issue. This one
Yeah.
is, that is the land of lost content. I see it a shining plain, a happy highways where I went and cannot come again. So like we already are kind of getting this idea that Roxxon is really just going to manipulate Thor's story and profit off of it.
Right.
But there is the added twist of Scourge and Amora working with Agger. So, and I and maybe I missed it, but I don't even remember it being seeing anything in this book about why, other than Odin having the vision from Avengers Inc., where Thor is gonna die, or whoever wields Mjolnir will die. So that's why he sends Scourge out. He sends him through that like, you know, get out of jail back door from Valhalla to come back to life and prevent Thor from dying.
Right.
But I don't know that it's really been explained as to why they're choosing this route. Like other than it's just like for whatever purpose Ewing has for this story, other than he just wants to keep using Agger and he wants to tell this like really meta, you know, narrative
Right.
on like basically making these characters brands, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just like, and they even say it in the issue, like just making them content. Like it's not a comic book, you're not just like a comic book anymore. Like you're a lunchbox, you're a movie, you're a TV series, you're an action figure, you're this, you're that. Like we can make money off of you, and so that's what we're gonna do. And that's where we're at today. Like with a lot
Right.
of,
And you have like Utgard Loki and them acting kind of like the editor, kind of changing the story and kind
yeah.
of
Well,
yeah.
like and even now, like this, and I think that's like the, while I'm sure Utgard Loki has some hand in this is probably one of those things where like Ewing's just setting up like a very similar like storyline, but with, and they may never interact. And that's kind of like, I would be okay with that too. Like if they're just like two independent things, like it just happens to be going with the theme of like manipulating, the stories or like
Right.
the tales, like and kind of changing things. I don't know. It's so funny. Like when I read Flash and stuff, it's like I'm I'm like it's like frustrating that I don't know what's going on.
Mm.
And but in this, and maybe it's because I've just read more Thor at this point, but like I don't feel as frustrated when I'm like left in the dark with things.
Right.
I think that also has to do with the fact that I've read a lot of Ewing stuff and he usually just pulls through at the end anyway.
And
So
Ewing's
I'm
not leaving
like,
you completely in the dark either with everything. Like you're not just lost trying to bumble your way to find something that makes sense.
right, because like he's really good about like setting up like leaving the breadcrumbs and like letting
Right.
you follow along. But I mean, and there are other times where like he makes me feel like he'll make you feel stupid
Yeah.
as a reader because of just how much he knows and how much like and just the way that he writes it.
Yeah.
Um yeah, so like the issue really just kicks off where like because the last one, Thor has uh come to Roxxon's door and
Right.
basically said like we need to talk because Gaia this Thor's like Earth's last chance because Gaia is just fed up with the way that Earth is being treated with like the expansion of humanity and the way that they've treated nature. And it's funny because like I had this come out had this come out when Immortal Hulk was like coming out and it was like in lieu of that and we got this like very like economic, activist story
Right.
or eco terrorist story from like with Agar being like the typical like corrupt corporate, guy who's who's just gonna suck the planet dry of its resources and profit off of it. A couple of years ago, it might have been like, like in bad taste, or it kind of would have been like, all right, whatever, like we're doing this. But like we're we're kind of headed that direction, man.
Right.
So it's like it's and now it's almost like a cautionary tale of like maybe we shouldn't,
Yeah.
like the way that corporations and capitalism is kind of like as a whole. But it's interesting storytelling, I think, at the end of the day. Because like
Yeah.
and I know people are like, well, it always comes back to the argument of like, well, I don't like that kind of stuff in my comic books because I use it to escape from reality. It's like yes, but also like I feel like not using like real life commentary to tell these stories, especially when Marvel is like the world outside your window.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Like if it's supposed to be a more realistic world, why wouldn't you tackle like stories and situations like that?
Right.
Because like I don't know, and that's the appeal, I guess, for a lot of these books for me is like, what would Thor do in a situation like this? Like obviously he's been Earth's protector for how long, but it's Earth's not just the people on it, it's the planet itself, it's his mother, it's like so he obviously like he has a duty to protect it regardless of like from whoever it is, even if it is against humanity itself.
Right.
And that's like the point is like that, and that's kind of why Guy is considered like he's considered Gaia's mercy at this point because everything else has failed and she's willing to give humanity one last chance through her son to it's almost like biblical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like when we recorded for the very first issue of this, I was even gonna say like I could expect this to kind of have like some biblical undertones,
Right.
like whereas Immortal Hulk, it was like very evident.
Yeah.
But like with this, it's just like really like the finer details, I think, like will kind of coincide with some of those themes.
Right.
But yeah, so Thor just storms into or Dario Agger's office and they just have a quick exchange and Agger's just like taunting him. He's like, my desk is just made of the finest Brazilian mahogany.
Yeah.
And then Thor just smashes it and he's like, should I quake in my tailored shoes?
Yeah. Well, he's like, no,
Like
it's the finest matchwood now. It's like,
yeah. And then so like and now like yeah, Thor is not like really like wanting to mess around. He's just saying like this is like I'm here on my mother's behalf and you either need to like get in line or it's gonna be a problem,
right.
you know? Because he lets him know like if you don't stop this, if you don't stop what you're doing, like she's opened up a doorway that's gonna mean the end of the world. And this is something he's prepared for. Like he is like ready.
Right.
He even says like he's like, is that all you're bringing to the table? Like the end of the world? He's like, because you know what they say, Thor, don't threaten me with the good time. And we're immediately met with this illusion of like a barren, dead Earth, and it's like just a singular dome that says Roxxon. And he like lets him know, he's like, oh, it's like a hologram suite. He's like, it's proof of concept. And so, and he's the illusion for Thor is like more real, I think, for him than he initially realized.
Right.
Because like even in his narration, like he notices like it's a little too easy. The illusion is too perfect for mortal means to conjure. No hologram could bring sweat to a god's brow.
Right.
Even so, I should have guessed that something is not right with me. And then like he goes to pick up the axe and it feels heavy. So like, and which is interesting because when he made Tormod, it was because it was like through the power of wisdom, you know,
Right.
and knowledge, and like so the fact that his like mind is being like tampered with, and he has like another like an outer influence like in his thoughts. It's interesting to like he picks up on that just lifting the axe.
Yeah.
It's cool to see Ewing like because we know that more weapons or things are coming from what that was like issue 3.
Yeah.
I think it was issue 3. So like I wonder if each of them are going to represent like an aspect of Thor, you
Right.
know? Like you'll have Thor's wisdom with Tormod, you have his worthiness with Mjolnir, and you have maybe it'll just be like his more like just his human like his qualities as a character.
Like a literal deconstruction for
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a deconstruction into a reconstruction.
Yeah.
Like it's I like that. That's really cool. If that's what this is, then I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But
Which, by the way, also Roberson's art is really good and
yes, dude.
really flows into what Kokolo was doing. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
really feel like a different book at all, or
Yeah,
like
well,
even
and
like
like, and I just keep attributing that to Matt Wilson. Like
yeah,
the dude's probably, and I think we've been saying this for a long time. Colors don't get like enough credit, man.
yeah, for sure.
Because like I think if you had a different colorist with Roberson on this book, it would still be good. But I don't think that it wouldn't feel as consistent as it does.
Right. 100%.
Because like when I this next page, like they go inside the dome and he's showing like basically like this is what I have in store for humanity, you know. Basically I if you're rich enough, you can live here, you can thrive in here, but you basically are still going to be subservient to the greater powers that are left alive.
Right.
So like, and he even says like I'll just read the whole page. He says like after the human race has been downsized pruned to fit the next evolution of capitalism, it will look like this: the Roxxon. The exterior provides security against outsiders, not that there are any left, but it's the thought that counts. Like he's even like thought it out to the point where like he can even scare people, don't go out there. If you want to go out there, something might be out there and it can get you, but if you stay inside, we'll protect you.
Right.
So, like, while the inside is an exclusive climate controlled paradise for select Roxxon customers, and the Thor just responds with, can mortal money truly buy escape from the apocalypse? And then he, like, paws on over to Amora because,
But does like
it's
Thor
the
even
rank.
notice that that's Amora? Not really, right?
Probably not. I mean, he's probably not even paying close. He's just probably, like, again, he's, like, influenced by these outside things. So it's he's like, he's like losing his mind, you know? Like,
Right.
he's not all there at the moment. He's on his back foot. But yeah, it says wealth buys power, and power is a currency here precious mortals are all too eager to accept. Establish a ruling class is the easy part. Once we key the life support to their bio data, not to mention that of their heirs, of course, well, the rabble will learn their place one way or the other. So like, and then we get this very like looking into the stars. Hold on, I gotta text my wife back.
Oh, you're good.
Um, But yeah, so it's just a lot of like the sales pitch as to like what this is supposed to be. And then you see that guy that's the gardener
Yeah.
swinging the lawnmower and
Lawnmower over at
turns
him.
out it's Scourge.
Right. And not a lawnmower. It's a freaking axe.
Yeah, exactly. Um and what's the next? Oh yeah, I mean the next few pages is really just the fight between them
Right.
and like in and out of like the illusion and I the most interesting thing about their fight, I think, is the conversation that they're having. Is because it references his last stand at what's the name of the bridge? Either way, like during Simonson's run when they're making their stand against Hela,
Oh yeah,
and it's like the famous moment where he's like holding the guns and he's like blah 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 blah, like he's going down. And I'll take any Simonson reference any day, like
right,
any time. So like, but it's cool that even an issue like this, where it's most of it is really just Ewing like telling his original story and not really pulling from anything else.
right,
It's still pulling from a era of Thor's past.
right.
So, and I think that is why this is probably my favorite book, just because of like he doesn't have to, you know what I mean? Like he could just easily be like, oh, like, I'll use references every now and then, but it's like everything that these characters say to each other, everything, like every interaction with them, even the reason why they're fighting is is meaningful.
Right.
Like they're only he's only fighting because of what he told, like because of the vision that Odin saw, and that he's on this mission to like take Thor's place, but it also gives him a chance to like relive that glory.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's man, it's cool.
I love that like panel work too, where like Scourge hits him out of the building and you kind of see like the panel break
Yeah,
and
like
like
it's
the
like the
reality
illusion is
shift.
breaking.
Yeah, the reality shift, and it's pretty cool. I like kind of like the little meta where it's like, boom, he broke out of this world, he's back in the normal world, and Mjolnir's working with him again here. So it's kind of like,
Right.
I,
And
I
yeah, because at this point, yeah, after he knocks him out of the building, he Tormod is inside and Scourge grabs it.
right,
Um, so now it's almost like an even match
yeah,
because he can tell like I really like this line of dialogue from Scourge. He's like, you should put an inscription on this one too, Thor, just so people know how it works. Whoever still holds this axe, if they be wise, shall possess. Well, they'll possess the axe of Thor, but it's a nice axe. He's like, heavy as all hell. But any wisdom I ever had was sparse and hard won. I only truly became wise at Yalabrew. Okay, that's it is right there. On the day of my ending. Remember when I stood in your place, when I stole your death? It was the making of me, Thor. And he's ready to take that fall again. Like, no question about it. Like that's what he's there to do,
yeah,
because that's what Odin sent him there to do. But Thor is like, and even at the end, it was issue 5 when Jane lets him know. He's like, oh, Isaac, then I won't be letting go of the hammer. Like, he's like, I'm gonna make sure that I hold on to these so that way the vision, if anybody is to die, it's gonna be me. Like he's
right,
he's he's like taking that responsibility. So he's like, it's cool. It's a cool dynamic because Scourge just like he just wants to have that that return to glory.
right,
But and he's willing to almost like to do anything to get it, whereas Thor is like willing to do anything to make sure nobody is harmed because of this vision.
right. Which I think is also a cool image just to see them like two gods about to like duke it out inside of like a corporate
Yeah.
office, inside of like a corporate office, like
It's
kind of
I
like that like little image.
I was I don't remember who I was saying this to. And it might have just been it could have been we were talking in the shop or something, but I just feel like so many of these Marvel books feel like classic right now.
Yeah,
Like this one especially, like the fact that these two just big hulking guys that aren't of Earth are just fighting in like a corporate skyscraper
yeah,
feels very much like classic like 70s Thor.
yeah. It does.
It feels like, and a lot of this stuff feels like Roy Thomas era, like with some of the storytelling, same with like Simonson era. Like it just feels like a blend of everything that Thor's been through.
Right.
And man, I just can't get enough.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
It's too good. And then Amora shows up
Yep.
because she needs to have her piece with Thor. Um, and their beef, I mean, they're always having a problem, But
Right.
this time is particularly personal to Amora because um Thor was like, it's my duty to protect all Asgardians, and I can't let anybody come to harm. But I don't know if you read Strange Academy.
No.
I didn't, but I had to do I did a little bit of like digging after I read this issue. So at the end of Strange, I think it was the sequel miniseries. So when it was like 12 issues maybe for the first run, but it introduced Amora's sons,
Oh, okay.
Alvi and Eric, and they went to Strange Academy. And I think I'm not sure how long Strange Academy Finals went, but that was the sequel series. And in that, um, Eric dies.
Oh,
So he was murdered at the school by another student. Um, and I don't remember who it was but regardless, like even and another thing that Ewing could have just like not mentioned, like he could have just said like just based off previous beef that they've had in the past.
right.
Like it's just good storytelling because it's just like Thor is he feels overwhelmingly responsible for his people now. So he's like, I have to protect them. I will always protect them. And then like for Amor to be like, well, you've already failed. Like you are like I
Right.
already lost my son. So like your words mean nothing. So like and then she just takes him right back into the illusion. And she's just telling him like or like he's just like, oh, like he's like, I knew it was like, I can't believe it was you. Like there's a fog upon my mind.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, like and like the whole issue is just the three of them mocking him and beating him up.
Right. And just kind of like leaving him to be just clueless, like, where am I?
Yeah,
What am I doing? Where's what's the
just to break him down even further.
right?
And next like and this is kind of where I was talking about earlier with like the content and then like utilizing Thor as a brand.
Right.
And then so I I want to say before I read this, I'm pretty sure that what issue was it? Maybe it was the one where they're talking about where they're retelling the story when they go to Utgard
Yeah.
when they're in that building and they're around that fire. I want to say it was like the Hall of Uller, right?
Yeah.
Is where they said they were at. So that being said, like Thor says, enough games, enough tricks. Tell me what magic you weaved about me. And then she says, the oldest magic, the sacred fire of Uller lit and his brother Bragi sang at. The telling fire. As gods, we are susceptible to such magic. Our tale is as much part of us as our bone and blood, or our thread of our fate. For such as us, it is truly the magic art, but it's a little different here on Muddy Midgard, wouldn't you say, Daria?
Right.
So, and this is very much in line with what Utgard Loki has been doing, what Loki's been doing as a teller of tales. Like there's just such an emphasis on like these like the god stories and their legends and their tales and their myths and how it humanity's perception of them is influenced by these stories.
Right.
So like uh you have whatever magic that Utgard Loki has that allows him to change a tale, you know. And then you have Loki's ability to step outside the narrative and do all these things and he is the teller of tales and can change it that way. But now you also have a third character who has the ability to do the same thing,
Right.
you know. And I, what's interesting is while she can create such a powerful illusion with this magic, it almost seems like she's unable to do like she Dario needs her and she needs Dario to pull this off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like while he has the in-universe exploits of Thor and like his month to month, like when people like, oh well, I talked to Thor this month and he said he was doing this, and so we wrote it out and we drew it and we released it as a comic
Yeah.
book, you know.
Right.
Whereas now that Roxxon owns it with the telling fire, they can literally change the story and
Right. They could
rewrite
just
his
play
history.
editor and just
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like somebody in real life going back from Journey 83 and saying this and all of this is different. It's not the same. And it being canon, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, so big giant Minotaur head in the sky, Agar says, like, art, I never liked that word. I prefer content.
Right.
And so and Thor's just fed it up. He's like, all right, show yourself, blah, 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 blah. And then Agar just keeps going. He says, it's so efficient. It's the product of unit to be sold, and the feeling you're selling with it. In such an anxious world, who doesn't want to be content? And Ewing is just like pedal to the metal with all of this commentary on
Right.
content, on instant gratification of things, and how we gotta have it, and if we don't get it now, it just drives us crazy, and we get anxious and we can't wait for it.
It's
And then
literally a commentary on like now
yeah,
where
yeah,
everybody could just get anything at their fingertips and
yeah,
instantly.
yep.
It's
And
pretty.
so Scourge comes back into the mix and trying to hold him back, and they're just it's more of the same dialogue at just how like, oh, like, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna be the one to do it, like my tale is my own.
Right.
He's just so like they're both so adamant about just their stance on how this is going to go. They're
Right.
both willing to back down. But then Agar steps in and he says, I was making a joke earlier, Thor, a pun. You see, your tail isn't your own, not here. And then Thor's like, what mean you? He says, you content, Thor. And then Thor's like, a periodical, is this another illusion? And then Amora says, quite real, one more thing I hid from you, but I'm glad it's time for the reveal. I put a lot of work into it. So, and this is where we get a little bit of an explanation. He says, some time ago, you made an error, Thor. You allowed someone to publish your adventures, not public domain retellings of ancient legends, month by month reports of your current exploits. I'm sure it seemed harmless enough. Why not sign your story away for charitable donation? It's only ink on paper. Only these days, it's not. The story is not just a story. It's a movie, a toy, a cake topper, an entire corporate machine. Now I control that machine. It brings me profit. It brings me power. It makes the number go up, and that's sweet enough. But when Scourge and the Enchantress approached me, I discovered that it can do even more. It can take your power away. And so, like, Thor's like shook, man.
Yeah.
you know,
Like
uh,
Loki was trying to prepare me for something, but I didn't know it was this
yeah,
weird shit. What the hell?
yeah. And so, like, Amora's just like luring him, like taunting him in, like saying, like, oh, like, we know that you're the all father, you're powerful and all these things. And then she's like, I don't have Loki's innate skill with story magic, but thanks to Dario, what I lack in finesse I make up for in volume. A couple million mortals reading this on paper, on free websites, a panel at a time on social media. That's a spell big enough to affect even an all father. That's my favorite piece of dialogue in this issue, because he's just like, I see all you guys pirating the books, and I see
Yeah.
you guys posting it online. That's funny. I like
Yeah.
that.
That's basically
Um,
saying that like basically the hive mind of humans all looking at it
right.
being
And
ruined.
and he even takes it a step further with how, like, Thor is perceived in, like, the general public, like the opinion of him. Your story on Midgard Thor is a story of a boor, an oaf, a fool. No wonder you're befuddled. So, like, it takes that, like, meta idea that people think that Thor is just this rock for brains,
Right.
power character, and it fits it into the story in a way that makes him, like, people think he's dumb, so that's why he is feeling less wise, like he's feeling like he's on his back foot, he's confused because of the power that they've, like, put in these books.
Right. Or the MCU
So
making him that way.
yeah, yeah.
You
And
know.
so, like, she just convinces him to read it, and he starts reading it, and we get the final page of Roxxon Thor. And that's what's up next is Roxxon presents Thor #1. I'm hella excited for this, dude. And it's so
Yeah.
funny that it's ironic that it's Greg Land on art for the
Yeah.
corporate Thor, but it's
It's
so on
probably
brand.
the only way like I'm cool with
Yeah,
it. I'm okay with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You
And
know.
I almost wonder if Ewing did that on purpose.
Wouldn't surprise me at all, dude. Like because I mean, even look at that like cover for that. Like it's so polished and so like
Yeah,
artificial looking almost. Like
yeah,
it fits this whole theme.
yeah.
I don't,
It'll be good. I'm excited for it. I'm sure most of it will probably be us like getting like a really, really cut by cut by cut. Like this is Roxxon Thor's history. This is who he is. Chad Hammer, you know.
right.
Um, so and then I would hope that by the end of that issue we get a fight between the two Thors. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited for it either way.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool, man. I this book is so cool.
Yeah. Because this is gonna be like a little event, right? It's gonna be like a little
Yeah,
event. Yeah.
yeah, because then issue 10 is the last part of it, and then we're gonna go into the Skinner box.
Oh, that's so cool that he's
So like, and even
picking
then,
that
like
up.
he's hunting Tyr to get his rune, because in issue 12, when he meets up with Tiwaz, it's they even reference it in the solicitation.
Right.
So Rune King coming.
Ooh.
I mean, we also know that there is a new design, and Thor's getting like a big something big is happening to Thor in issue 25.
Okay.
So and we knew something was going to happen because like Ewan did an interview before the series started, and he had talked about how there was a third design. There was another design by Alex Ross, and he designed that suit as well.
Oh.
So I don't know.
I mean, Alex Ross doesn't really miss with these Thor
That's what I'm
designs.
saying. Like even the Twilight
Right.
design is phenomenal, dude.
Yeah. I don't
Uh,
know. Pretty cool.
yeah, it's good stuff, dude.
You always
I'll
get
never.
his like
I'll
Morrison on with his meta Morrison on.
yeah, it's
Love
cool,
it.
man.
These British dudes, man. These British dudes just like
Yeah, I don't know, man. I This book is way. It's like a dream, dude. Sometimes,
yeah.
like I
It's just
remember when Donnie.
crazy. Like I just imagine how hard it must be to take all of Thor's mythology and then mix it with current continuity of everything and every player using like basically putting their continuity into this and then now upending that old continuity and adding new stuff to it. Like that seems like a mess on paper to do, but
Yeah,
you
well,
did a
like,
great job. Like
and I think the only reason it at least month to month why it seems so flawless is probably because when it started, he was already 40 issues in.
right,
So like he has to have been working on this for a long time.
right,
So I and he even said that like he pitched the idea to Marvel, like this was his idea. So it makes me wonder if like while he was on Immortal Hulk, if he had already started like outlining this and like plotting ideas and doing all these things, waiting for whenever Kate's was going to finish. Obviously, what happened happened. You know,
right,
it didn't really go out probably the way that anybody planned. But I wonder if this was always in the cards for him, like if he was always just preparing for this anyway.
right.
So I mean, if he was like,
Yeah, he's killing it, dude.
dude,
Love it.
this is like the best Thor has ever been. Like,
Hoping it goes for
and
50
that's like
issues like
saying
Immortal
something,
Hulk.
man.
What's that?
That's like I'm like this is like the best Thor's ever been. That's like
Yeah,
saying something, like because I mean Simonson's run is always going to be my favorite. You know what I mean? But like if this run continues like this for 50 issues,
yeah,
there's no way like anybody can say it's not the best run.
right.
You know what I mean? Like it Simonson's always going to be my number one, but like it'll be like undisputed, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait. I'm probably eventually gonna buy this all in trade just so I can have it all next to my Immortal Hulk stuff.
I'm gonna get the omnibus, dude.
Yeah, don't blame you.
I got you, man. Because watch, it's probably gonna have some kick-ass covers too. They're probably gonna
Yeah,
do like the direct market, and then they'll have the Alex Ross cover.
and I'm sure Kokolo will do some cool shit too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
You know.
All right, guys, that's all we got time for this week. Probably normal time next week. I
Yes,
think.
sir.
All right, dudes. Later.
Later on, guys.